At this moment in American history, in the last hours of 2020, the nation is struggling through the final stages of a brutal political coup. Any honest prediction must take into account Republican Party cowardice and active betrayal of the president, even by close staff and advisors. They are urging his surrender and the surrender of all three branches of government. Now, of course, if this happens, the nation will suffer the long-term effects of an illegal overthrow of the government. And yet, Americans can have an intelligent optimism no matter who's inaugurated on January 20th. And here's why. We Americans have so much work to do in 2021, dismantling an overpowering administrative state, no matter who is president. If we've learned anything in 2020, we learned that the welfare state has too much, way too much, unchallenged totalitarian power. All year long, individual liberties have been crushed by federal, state, and local bureaucratic machines, both Democrat and Republican. In 2021, I believe that millions of Americans will begin an historic fight to dismantle this bureaucratic slavery, fighting with a fresh effectiveness. And there are three reasons why I believe this. Number one, we're entering a new chapter in American history. Many Americans are finally ready to stop fighting against God and resisting our real enemies instead. We're beginning to be more respectful of God's rightful claims on our country and on our lives. We can no longer escape the truth that men are created in the image of God, and this is why we thirst for freedom when slavery begins to strangle the life out of us. And the level of oppression now that we tasted in the year 2020 has now reached a tipping point. We not only feel it, we can see it in the overt criminal acts being carried out with impunity. We want out of all this. We want out of this bureaucratic slavery that's closing in around us. And now point number two, we're beginning to admit that God's terms of justice, which He also created, are way better than ours, way better than anything we could come up with. We want some real justice for a change. We really want it. Not a cheap plea bargain kind of version or a good old boy variety. We want those who lied to us and who stole from us to be held up to God's standards of crime and punishment. We want epic justice. And that epic justice we want comes only from the governor of the universe. And we can actually represent that justice here on earth if we know how to adjudicate crime in all three branches of our government. Now, the best news of the year is that this merciful judge is still enthroned over us with all authority, and he actually wants this justice to be done even more than we want it. Number three, the more we accommodate God's sovereign authority, the more peace and justice we will have in 2021, no matter who's president. And this is simply a continuation of the Christmas promise given to us by Isaiah the prophet about Jesus Christ, the Savior Messiah. For a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on His shoulders, and His name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There will be no end to the increase of His government or of peace on the throne of David and over His kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will accomplish this. So Merry Christmas and a great, victorious New Year to you all.